Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here with a quick Borderlands pre-sequel slash 2 slash 1 Borderlands series theory. Okay, and that today the theory is what exactly caused the Crackening. So if you've played pre-sequel, you know that the Crackening is a huge event that affected all the people on the moon of Elpis. However, it didn't really have that much effect on Pandora, or so we think. We know, for example, that in pre-sequel, during the Claptastic Voyage DLC, that there are echoes left behind by Pickle. And there are a couple different echoes. The first echo, or at least first chronologically, is Pickle saying that it's the 1-year anniversary since he lost his parents. And considering that Pickle is canonically a roughly 10 or 12-year-old boy, this is really sad. We know that Jack says that Pickle is 10, though it could be possible that he's older. Anyway, we're just going to say that he's 10 during the events of pre-sequel. In that echo from Claptastic Voyage, we know that it's been 1 year since Pickle lost his parents, and he isn't sure what happened to Eliza. In pre-sequel, there's a mission called Another Pickle, in which you find Eliza. And from the way Pickle sounds relieved and the fact that they're having this big reunion, it makes it sound like it's been basically another year since he's seen Eliza last. We also know from the third echo, in Claptastic Voyage, that Pickle found a nice spot to scatter his parents' ashes, which was what he wanted to retrieve from the Drakensberg. The Drakensberg, of course, is Zarpedon's old ship before she was promoted to leading what is now the Lost Legion. The Drakensberg, however, when we go to see the Drakensberg, is crashed. It's basically torn in half, though it's not really explained why. It could be that it just broke in half when it crashed, or that something could have caused it to break in half and crash. But what could have that been? We see that Pickle is wearing a doll spacesuit. It could be that he's stolen a doll suit of that size, but that kind of sounds unlikely to me. What sounds more likely to me is that he obtained it through legitimate means. After all, if Pickle's parents were on, at least if Pickle's parents' ashes were on the Drakensberg, that means that Pickle's parents were cremated either on or near the Drakensberg. Now, while it could be that Pickle cremated his own parents and put their ashes in like a jar or a jug or something, that's really sad and really dark, especially considering Pickle's only about 10 years old. And I doubt they would imply that unless they really wanted to go dark with Pickle's story. What I think more likely happened was that Pickle's parents were stationed on the Drakensberg as soldiers or even just crew there, and that something occurred causing them to die, and they were ceremoniously cremated, and because Pickle's parents worked there, he was allowed to stay for a little while. Knowing Zarpedon, especially from the mission where you get Zarpedon Cyber Eagle, Zarpedon is actually a really cool boss, and her entire crew, when she was on the Drakensberg, loved her. So it would make sense that if a member of her crew died, she would allow the family to stay there, or at least for a little while. So, in that case, what caused Pickle's parents to die? Well, we know from Janie that Janie's partner was killed after a bunch of Kragans attacked. But what caused the Kragans to attack, especially the one that killed her, Flamey, was that a bunch of Kragans came out from the events of the Crackening. It could be that something similar happened to Pickle's parents, that Pickle's parents were lost in the Crackening. But that would imply that Doll was already on Elpis at the time, which implies also that the Drakensberg was involved with the Crackening. Could it be that the Drakensberg was stationed on Elpis when it was destroyed from the Crackening? Or was the crash of the Drakensberg the cause of the Crackening? But then again, what caused it to crash? We know that after Zarpedon left, that someone else took over, and it's not really clear who took over, but the bosun, which is a bandit leader, also known as Keith, was a programmer who reprogrammed Felicity. Now, it's not really clear if he was in charge, but we know that either he was in charge, or if you see on various different computer screens, a character known as Sergeant Beans was in charge. One of those two. I'm not sure if they were the ones who crashed the ship, but if they were the ones who were put in charge, I doubt that they would purposely crash a ship unless something happened. We know from the events of Borderlands 1 that basically the Doll Corporation and all of its workers, scientists, and prisoners basically went insane after being abandoned, so it would make sense that basically after crashing or after being abandoned by Doll itself, that those people would go crazy and become the scavs living on Elpis and the Drakensberg. So I doubt it was something that was an intentional crashing. So what exactly caused it to crash? Was it maybe an attack from Hyperion or Atlas? I don't think so. What I think maybe happened was something in story. If you think about it, based on that timeline, it's been, from the events of pre-sequel, it's been roughly 2 years since Pickle's parents died. But what else happened about 2 years before the opening of the first vault on Pandora? As we can clearly see in pre-sequel, Pandora has this giant wave of iridium coming off of the planet, even still about a year and a half or 2 years after the events of Borderlands 1 and the opening of the first vault. My theory is that after the events of Borderlands 1 and iridium was blasted into Pandora's atmosphere and basically flooded Pandora's soil, this caused an energy surge that caused the Drakensberg, now run by either Keith, the bosun, or Sergeant Beans, to crash. Now, it could be that the surge of iridium either caused a hole to be ripped in the ship, or it caused an energy surge, like I mentioned before, to cause the ship to crash that way. Either way, this crashing of the ship could have caused the Crackening. It's also likely that after the opening of the first vault, the Drakensberg, which was maybe parked on Elpis, was affected by one of the earthquakes of the Vault of the Sentinel opening. As you can see, the Vault of the Sentinel is this massive underground cave system that basically takes up the entire core of the Elpis moon. It could be that this vault opening caused a massive earthquake as well that could have caused the Crackening. I'll let you decide. Was it the crashing of the Drakensberg or possibly the opening of the Sentinel's vault that caused those earthquakes? Let me know in the comments below what you think. But either way, I believe that it's the events of Borderlands 1 that caused, essentially, the Crackening in pre-sequel to happen, causing the death of basically a lot of supplementary characters like Janie's partner and Pickle's parents. Anyway, I've been Metagross Streak, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.